say what? Look.
The New OGs. The New OGs is a State and Madison Entertainment production and is brought to you by Solar Masters. Look, Illinois is changing how people get their electricity, and Solar Masters is helping homeowners in Illinois take advantage of a program that lets them get solar power at no cost. If you're a single-family homeowner in the state of Illinois, you can lower your electric bill, you can raise the value of your home, and you can do something good for the environment without paying a single dollar out of your pocket to do so. In fact, Solar Masters can only work with you if they can save you money. Solar Masters is a Black-owned company and a SunPower dealer, an American panel maker with over 30 years of solar experience. They even have a referral program that pays out as much as $500 per referral. So head over to www.gosolarmasters.com and get in contact. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. XL, how you doing, baby?
Hey, man. I know it's another show. It's just me and you. The new guy couldn't make it.
Yeah,
but I got questions.
Hollywood is away again. Yes.
Hollywood is going again. Hollywood Hines.
He's busy. He's doing the Hollywood thing right now. He's on the road.
I got a quick question because I just want to make sure you're telling the people the right thing.
Yeah, I want to make sure you get it right. I don't want to confuse anybody here.
So by going solar, they can save money every single month on the electric bill they got to pay anyway.
Yeah, they were paying an electric bill anyway. Might as well save some money on it every month.
They actually can help the environment and possibly help save the world like a superhero.
They could be almost a superhero if they do that. Almost
a superhero. And if they refer somebody, even if they don't have a roof of their own, but that person does, and that person goes solar, they get $500 every time?
Every time they refer somebody, if that person goes solar, they get $500.
Man, that's almost as good as Joe Biden ego right now, because that nigga got to be happy. Like, this nigga 100-day touchdown dance. He probably slapping asses in the White House, all kind of shit. What's up, Jack? I'm kicking Trump's ass, buddy. Like, this.
Well, if you
tell Soda Pop I said, what's up?
If you want to feel so good about your woman, you pick dandelions for her in the field. Get over to www.gosolarmasters.com and get in contact for a free consultation or refer somebody you know. He picked a dandelion for his wife as they're heading to the helicopter.
Yeah, he feels good about himself. A man that doesn't feel good about himself doesn't openly pick flowers where other motherfuckers can see, because you know you're gonna get jokes about that shit.
Now he thought he had caught a snake, but it was a dandelion.
I see you, son of a. You're not tricking me. Turning into a snake.
No, he seems perfectly capable at the moment. Also, get over to People of Comedy on Facebook.
Comedy People.
All the great shows they have offered there. Check in daily. They've got new, fresh podcasts you can watch and listen to wherever you listen to pods. They're actually closing out one of the more entertaining podcasts on the network that have been around for a long time. Also, one of the most controversial podcasts that have been around the network for a long time.
Yes.
Hillary's last episode. It's a live taping tonight. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, we will be at North Bar, the famous North Bar in Chicago. 1630 something. I don't know. West North Avenue.
And just west of Ashland, y'all. Just west of Ashland.
Right by the Hollywood Grill.
The lineup is pretty much some of the most problematic.
It is. Yeah, and the lineup itself is very problematic because it's all white dudes. So come see a bunch of white guys talk about stuff if you want at 10 p.m. at North Bar. It's going to be, I'm very upset that we are doing this in front of an audience, but I am forced to, as Todd Massey, one of Chicago's best comics ever, and one of my oldest friends, actually, in comedy, is moving to Austin, Texas next week, so we got to wish him well, and what better way to do that than to make a ton of verbal mistakes at 10 p.m. tonight at North Bar.
By 10 p.m., all those guys will be so drunk.
Yep, I'm just going to hit record and leave the room, and we'll see what happens.
It's going to be white guys wondering why racism is still a thing.
Well, you know.
James, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to give Todd a big hug for me.
I will.
And tell him that I would be there, except for the fact that I don't want to be.
You got it. I'll pass him.
But I love him. I love Todd. I'm gonna miss him.
I mean, everyone on the show. Right, everyone on the show is a great person. It's all ridiculous fun.
I don't even know who else is on the show, but
Blake Burkhart, Tim Weishelbaum, Chris Damon, Dale McPeak. Probably.
I love Dale McPeak. Yeah. Did you say Blake Burkhart?
Blake Burkhart.
Bobby Buds.
Oh fuck! I might.
Well, and Bobby Buds, of course. Yes.
I love Bobby Buds. He's
it's a bunch of fun dudes, and I will say
Bobby Buds is like a pocket-sized racist. It's not all the way hard, you know, Like, it's not enough racist to really make you mad. It's enough racist that it's cute.
Well, he knows that he is of the size in which if he really fucked up, someone would just throw him somewhere.
Yeah, and it's
like a handbag. You know, like when you walk in from a long trip and you just take your fucking briefcase.
I love Bobby Buds, and I honestly believe that he is genuinely frustrated that I just can't look at Trump and go, yeah, that's funny. Like because and that's the whole, we won't do the whole thing, but that's the part of the thing. Like I've had a conversation with him before where he's like, yeah, but he's funny, right? And I'm like, but you can't, I can't laugh. Sure. I get why it's funny for you, but I can't.
He's funny when nothing he does is actually going to affect you.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
let's keep moving. Let's start that train. Let that train go, Bobby. We got a show to do. That's a whole nother show.
Which is the thing which is the information I would say to almost all the comics on that show.
Yes, yep.
It'll be a hey, listen, man, if you want to have a reason to be militant, go check out that show tonight. It'll be
okay. All right, relax.
When I say I don't want to be, I just feel like I can't endorse what that show's going to be.
Right. But, how was your week, man?
But I love those guys. I love all those guys.
How was your week, Dex?
Yeah, great guy. My fucking week was awesome, man. I got back on stage again last night at G-Man Tavern.
Nice.
Show.
Were you on the show or just decided to go? I'm taking this.
Y'all got a stage. Ain't nobody doing shit. It's a show now. Surprise comedy, nigga.
Yelling at white people on the north side of Chicago from the stage. No mic, no introduction, just.
Oh my god! It would be so confusing at the march after they shot me because people would be like, "Well, wait a second. He just jumped on stage and started screaming at people. There wasn't a show. I don't know if should we be marching for this? That seems like something you should." How big you say he was? Oh, so I don't know what to do with that. I guess I would probably be. I have to just take that. Wasn't that guy? You back me?
I
think you froze up.
I lost connection for a minute.
Yeah.
I lost connection for a minute. We're here though.
Yeah. So
we're alive.
I had a good week, man. I was performing at a show. Paul Falwell and TJ, I can't remember how to say TJ's last name.
Sapochi?
So yeah, thank you, TJ
Sapochi.
They have a dope show there. I was there with Audrey Jonas was on the show. Sorab F. I'm gonna
Farouzish.
Farouche. Thank you.
Sorab.
Damn, look at James with the last name.
You gotta know him.
I mean, he's heard them announced over and over again.
I've had to announce them over and over.
He's announced them over and over. Who else? Paul performed and Michael Keith performed, and everybody was like, I feel like this is kind of a little past spring training. Maybe we've had opening day or we're nearing opening day, and I've seen some rough shows with some people struggle a bit. But last night, everybody was in mid-season form. It was good.
It's gonna be spring training for a little while still. I think.
Yeah.
People may get into season form, mid-season form, but I think it might be a little while before we're back to feeling strong. Just because the mics are still not full on yet.
Yeah, I guess this is what I say. You ever see one of those preseason games that your young pitcher like has a great game? You're like, okay, that's what it was. It was a real strong outing. Yeah, it was a real strong outing by all the staff. The whole staff has pitched strong.
That's solid.
Which was I was surprised. I was surprised because I really was like, let me see what's happening here, and everybody was tight.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of second shots that have gone into arms here. We are Biden's first 100 days in office now. It's a vastly different kind of first 100 days than the previous guy.
Hey man, yeah, I got to hang out
for different reasons,
Yeah. I'm double shot. I think Monday is technically my official fully vaccinated, but I'm there now. Probably whatever percentage there. Got to hang out with a buddy from college, who he got the shot. Guy I played ball with, and that was super fun, man. I forgot how many stories I had with this particular person, and he was. most of the fun stories I tell you from college, a lot of them involve him. And I'd forgotten that until we were sitting there, and I was like, "Oh shit, that was you! You were the one who did all that." So it was that was great fun, man. How about you, buddy? What'd you get up to this week?
I can tell how problematic those stories are because you have refused to give any more detail than I hung out with a human being who was a college-aged person that I knew back in the day. There are things that had happened which we shall not go into, and they were times that I've remembered.
One of them is a blackout diary that I definitely don't want his all the stuff involved. But one of them is a blackout diary show that I did that was pretty fun.
I had to take a run out this week to take care of some stuff and was able to actually. My mom and I are both double vaccinated as well. And so I was able to see my mom, which was cool. So it was the first time I'd seen that in a few months. And also, this is where I'm at as far as big things going on. I've had a digestion issue for like the last few months where I've just been like waking up sick all the time. And for the first time this last week, I've actually been like pretty pain-free. I've been able to get up and actually be alive and mobile, which has helped because
it's the vaccine, baby.
I'm hoping it's
doing extra shit.
It's really it's like, it's strenuous to not be feeling good to then go try and do anything that takes effort, right? Like especially like with the vaccine, they're just like, are you lethargic? And I'm like, man, I've been lethargic for a year. That's just what's going on. I've been stuck in that mode for a while now, but this is the first week in a minute where I'm like, all right. I also defeated an ant problem I had in my house.
Yeah.
I had like a small influx of ants that somehow decided they want to show up behind my sink. I could tell it's one thing when you do something, but obviously these ants had just showed up. So I had put down bait traps and within like a day they were gone. I was pretty happy about that. I also sprayed some raid type shit back there to knock some more shit out.
Anything that might try to fill the void.
Somebody was like, be careful, that shit can make you infertile. And I was like, oh good. Then I bathed in it. You know what I mean? I just
lit a candle.
Turned out the lights, you know what I mean? I just like sprayed.
Put on your favorite podcast, just like
Yes, help me. That's what I'm looking for.
Hey man, I forgot to say in my week, and I'm jumping in with this because I feel like it was also part of your week. You and I sat, we hung out for a second.
Yeah, we got to hang out for a second. It was cool,
that was dope.
Man.
That was dope.
We were like, we're in a location where we can both be in an area and not feel super weird about it. This is
yeah. Like, oh God. That was super dope.
So that was the thing as we started talking about what happened this last week. Obviously, we're in Biden's first 100 days, over 200 million vaccines out. 30% of Americans have gotten double vaxxed. 43% have gotten their first shot. Which is, fairly decent. They were doing 3 million doses a day they were getting out there, and now it's dipped down to like 2.6. But that's going to happen because at some point you're going to have less people who need to get it. So, and now you're getting down to the part where at this point, you're at the part where I think there's going to be a lag for a while because there's people that are just like, well, just let me see what happens to these people. And I think in like 3 to 6 months, when everybody realizes that nobody's Wi-Fi has gotten any better and none of us are being mind controlled and we all have the same number of limbs and then they're going to be like, all right, well, maybe I should get and still the virus is still fucking people who haven't gotten the vaccine yet. You know what I mean? I think that'll really deal with it. But on the flip side of it, I'm excited because the whole thing that's kept me from being out in the world has been the fact that hey man, if you can knock this shit down to where it's like flu level, I'm down to, when the flu was around, I was just like, fuck it, I'm going out. I've often been like, I'll risk a flu,
I never gave a fuck about the flu, but this shit seems like a bit of a game changer. So yeah. The good news thus far, in my experience, because I've been out a little bit more, I chanced it a little bit more the last couple weeks more, because I'm feeling good about myself and I'm excited. I'm ready to get out, man. Almost every comic that I've spoken with, that I work with often is vaccinated or getting vaccinated. Everybody I've talked to has been vaccinated. So at least our community is going to be safe. It's like we can do the hangs and the after the show, powwow or whatever, I don't know what the fuck to call it, whatever, the hangs. That shit can happen again without.
For me, like once I'm at 2 weeks about the same time you are, like This is the whole reason I did this, was so
Yeah.
I could hang again, so I could be in places again, so I could
Yeah.
like, I didn't do this shit so I could then still be hidden in my house. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I thought that was weird too. Like one of the things I thought was weird, Biden did it. He did his first congressional address. It's not a State of the Union speech because we haven't gotten there yet, but it's his first like address to Congress. And I think one of the things that was kind of unnecessary about it was, especially when you're dealing with a lot of people who have this conspiratorial belief that they're going to try and keep this forever, right? Like there's this fight from the conspiracy theorists. It's like first it's you got to wear a mask, and then you got to wear a burqa, and then you got to stay in your homes or whatever the fuck they think they're going to try and make people do, right? But like everybody in Congress has been vaccinated, even the people that are sitting there being supported by anti-vaxxers, right? Like Lauren Boebert's been vaccinated even. You know what I mean? Like all these fucking people have been vaccinated. All the liars and the cheaters and the insurrectionists and even the people that also are like trying to be decent, they've all been vaccinated. And then he does his congressional address and like they only let a small amount of people in. And it's like, man, it would have been a lot more killer if they'd have just had the fucking, like, just to show like, hey man, if you get vaccinated, this is the type of fucking room you could have. And instead it's like, no, even with the vaccine, we're still only going to put 200 people in a room. It's like, well, what the fuck are we doing it for then? Like, wasn't the whole point to make it like, to be like, hey, we're vaccinated. Look, we can like fucking elbow bump and fucking,
the problem is there is a portion of the country that is so willfully ignorant. They just constantly steer the shit away to bullshit that if they had done a full 1,600 person address with everybody being fully vaccinated, it would have been somehow used by the right as showing that Biden didn't follow. Look, they gave Trump trope for this, blah, 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 and they will somehow skip over the whole science of the fact everybody being vaccinated.
They're going to weaponize anything, right? They're always going to take something and try and weaponize it. And so like, you might as well sell the benefit, right? Don't
I don't disagree. I didn't even think about it from that perspective until you just said it. And you're right. I think you're right about it. We have friction on the show sometimes, but sometimes you just hit a shot, man. Sometimes it's like, I don't have anything to do. I can't say anything to everybody. I didn't see it from that perspective. Because at first I was like, yeah, of course they did it. But you're right. Everybody's vaccinated. Everybody that was vaccinated should have been able to come without this whole lottery
thing. About
thing.
Opening up and shit, right? Like we're about to get wild with it. Everybody's talking about white boy summer and thought girl summer, and everybody's about to have a summer of some sort.
Hey, by the way, a bunch of
like Kristen Gillibrand in the bikini in the fucking booth up there with everybody partying, like whatever the fuck it took to let people know, like get the jab, you know.
I like that.
I don't know why I pulled out Kristen Gillibrand's.
No, I'm with you, man. She's from Arizona. New
York,
of course, huh?
New York.
Oh no, you just. I'm thinking about Kirsten Cinema. Yeah.
Yeah, nah. Sorry. I just grabbed it. I just grabbed the name of a ridiculous name for the sake for the sake of the bit. But I thought that was.
I'm not mad at either one of them. Never mind.
Keep going. Honestly, I thought it was the only failing that happened from his congressional speech. I think everything else he did was pretty spot on. I thought his delivery was killer. He said some words that are not necessarily quite backed up with his point of view just yet, because he talked about things like healthcare being a right, but he's trying to like move it along at a pace that's quite slow. I don't know. He thinks it's a right, but I'm not sure when he believes like it should be accepted by the rest of the world, like, or the rest of the country, like that.
The only thing I can see happening with Biden, because there's some stuff that even though I'm very happy that I don't have to watch the fucking president every goddamn day to see what fucked up thing is going on, I can just kind of watch the highlights. The only thing I can think of with his deliberate pace is that he's trying to. These changes are going to happen, and these changes happen. The things that he's doing have to happen. Like they shouldn't have to take to December to do the fucking infrastructure bill.
Oh, I thought his pace was great. I thought his pace was great. This guy's coming in like he's coming in to be the grandfatherly guy, right? Like he's coming in to be this guy who's like, there, America. That grandpa step in with that it's not Uncle Sam anymore. It's Grandpa Sam. It's
Grandpa Sam. Now slow down, we're gonna get to it.
He would get down to a whisper at certain times where he was, like it was very much this just like, and we're going to take care of it. We're going to get you some pre-K for your little babies. And we're going to give you some extra college for your older people who are still kind of broke, like he just, he was he delivered something that I thought was really solid. And instead of pitching this thing about capitalism versus socialism, I thought one of the things he really did well was talking about autocracy versus democracy. He made it really clear that like what China is pushing is that democracy is dead because it takes too long to get shit done. And we can prove that wrong if y'all just jump on board with my shit right quick. He was just like, yeah, let's send our kids to, let's pay for some more schooling for kids. And it's interesting because the pushback against that is essentially trying to keep women in a place where they don't have the freedom to leave their husbands.
Yeah. And the whole GOP's pushback against everything that he's talking about, like, that's what is infrastructure. He's talking about computers and fiber optics and solar. Like, if you don't understand how that's infrastructure, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course they do.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The willful ignorance shit of what you need to be like. We should be moving towards the Jetsons, and these motherfuckers is like, let's keep going back towards Ricky and Lucy. Happy Days shit.
They're fine with moving towards the Jetsons. They just don't want you to move towards the Jetsons.
Just me, what I mean? In particular, the entire GOP is specifically against.
It's about you.
It's just me.
Yeah. I can go be with the Jetsons. I mean, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are trying to go to Mars. You think they're trying to go so they can bring you and me? Nah, they're not. Mars is not going to be for all of us, nigga. That's not how that's going to work. Okay, Mars. It's not even going to be for Elon Musk. It's going to be for AEX12B square root or whatever the fuck he named his kid. That's who it's going to be.
James, do you know how to say that kid's name?
I think it's Greg.
Zunzabip.
Zunzabip is hilarious.
The vaccine thing has been good. The jobs numbers are good for Biden in the first 100 days that he's had. The immigration situation is still fucked up, but it's not fucked up because Biden is necessarily bad at it per se. It's fucked up because it takes laws and rules, and there was already a fucked up system going on down there. And also, like, it's still shitty in those other countries. Like, those other countries didn't solve the problems that were causing a bunch of people to want to get the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not better in those places, and therefore that's good. That now, who knows what part we're playing in keeping it that way? But
well, there is a huge part that we're playing because this is another me going after the GOP. Like, they do this shit where they complain about it. It's a crisis. It's a crisis, but they never want to talk about, hey, but there's a crisis that we can help fix if we help fix these countries by opening up some trade with them and giving them opportunity to make a little bit of money. Then, because they're worried that that's going to take white people jobs, and it may take white people jobs because maybe it should take white people jobs, but it's not taking white people jobs because it's anti-white people. It's taking white people jobs because those jobs shouldn't be done here anymore. We move labor away to cheaper markets because we can. That's how we keep our prices down. That's how we keep.
It's also how we keep our local wages down too.
That's how we keep our local wages down. But the shift, what historically we've been allowing them to suppress wages, and what's historically usually happens is the workforce gravitates towards the higher paying wages, like whatever it is. Like just when we were younger, everybody went to college to try to get to the next level. But now that everybody's flooded with college, it's shifting, and I think actually what's going to shift now because of the way commerce is now. I think it's going to be a lot of independent people as less working for other motherfuckers.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the labor shortage part of things that are going on and how we manipulate that too. But I think one of the things in those other countries though is just we have issues with leadership or we have backroom dealings going on in regards to things that are not necessarily like top of the line industry. Like, the between here and South America, like that's the route that also all the drugs that get into this country take. You know what I mean? And there's a reason why there are drug dealers who are able to manufacture mass quantities of different types of drugs in South American countries that we're either allowing to continue, that government's allowing to continue, that the violence created by that is allowing to continue, that we have a drug war here that we're putting people in prison for, so we need to keep going on. Like all of those things kind of play off of each other before we even get into talking about legitimate business. You know what I mean? Like we have a whole issue there that creates that situation that allows that to happen. But Kamala Harris has been tasked with dealing with that down there. I
don't mean to laugh at Kamala. I'm not laughing at Kamala. I'm laughing at that's just a sucky assignment to get from the president. What's the worst thing that we're dealing with besides this pandemic? The border. You're up.
But the other thing she's got to deal with is like the policing shit, right? Like she's also Like, what is Joe? Joe's gonna be taking naps. I need you to handle this shit. I'm gonna be creating some $1 trillion plans for bridges and deal with cops and immigration.
Am I seeing something because I'm a fan of Kamala, or is this real? Does it seem like he puts her in position to be up with him up front with him a little bit more than other VPs are? Like she speaks at things that like are a presidential address that you usually wouldn't even see the VP at. I feel like, right?
Well, if you remember the show Veep, like the whole concept in that show, there's an ongoing thing in that show where she'd stop back into her office and she'd be like, "Has the president called?" And her assistant was like, "No, the president is not fucking called." You know what I mean? I'm probably, I think 4 seasons in, I still have no idea what the president even looks like. They haven't shown him. And so it is very oftentimes. I mean, I remember I started thinking back through presidencies, like. Al Gore was always off doing some other shit while obviously President Clinton was fucking chicks. So Al Gore was not going to be there for that because Al Gore's wife tried to kill gangster rap. Okay, the reason why rap albums have like explicit lyrics listed on them is because of fucking Tipper Gore. So let's just.
And I hate to sound like a caveman, but Al Gore's wife was pretty hot too. Like for Al Gore, Tipper Gore's kind of tight.
Al Gore had game though. Al Gore was running shit back in the day. He invented the internet, man. You got to realize it.
Here's the thing about that.
That man could save the entire planet with his eco shit he's on, and still everyone would be like, "Oh,
here's the fucked up thing. Here's the fucked up thing. You know what? In 100 years, Al Gore is going to be the Hamilton of that time. They're going to do a Hamilton about Al Gore because here's the thing. He was right about the internet shit and he was right about the climate change shit. But we just shit on him, man, because he says it in a funny, weird, it's Southern, but it's not Southern accent. Like he's from Tennessee. That accents have way more twang in it. And it's like the way he talks, it's like he's fighting the Tennessee out of every word that he says. Like he's trying to insert some Northern, some Midwest in every Tennessean word he wants to say.
I saw Biden a lot more during Obama's presidency because obviously Obama knew that they weren't going to listen to a brother. Like if Biden was always around and just be like, "Look, I'm white, okay? He's fine. Can we just I'm the deal guy. I'm telling you, he's cool. It's all right."
That's what happened every time right before the cameras came on when Obama had an address. Biden was his warm-up act. Like, "Hey, we agreed, guys. He won. He won fair and square now.
Right.
All right, Barry, you got it. Sorry, Mr. President."
But no, I would agree that Kamala's been in a lot more places right now. They've been doing a lot of stuff. Now, I think that you're going to see, he's going on this world tour to try and explain his two big plans he's got. One, he's raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour, which I think he can do without anybody fucking with that pretty easily. But he's going to he wants to put a tax. He wants to return the tax on people who make over $400,000 a year to the George W. Bush era, which I don't think sounds. I mean, I get it if you make over $400,000 a year, you want any of your money going to any taxes. Like, who does, right? But also, like, come on, man. We can't go back to the Bush era taxes. What the fuck are you trying to like? Have you not? You got to be on the same roads I got to be on, man. Like these roads suck. All of them suck. Every road I've driven across this country multiple times. New York, Boston, California. I've been to all these places. The roads are fucking horrible. They're all terrible. You tear all the shit down and start over again. What do you got? Pay 39% instead of 37%? Give me a fucking break, man. You're a billionaire. Eat a dick.
Yeah, it's real talk. The amount of money that they're talking about is, I know they have the whole slippery slope thing or dynamic, and I feel like we're in the slippery slope the opposite direction. They gone so tax cut crazy that they're blinded by because like they think tax cuts solve everything. If the Republicans could have figured out a way to put a tax cut on coronavirus, they would have done like a special coronavirus tax cut shit. Like they wouldn't have given us money if they wouldn't give us money if the Democrats didn't run Congress. They would have just had like a coronavirus tax cut.
They think the tax cut helps things because they make enough money in which a tax cut does help them.
Yeah.
It is a prevalent thing. I was talking to somebody who just traveled recently, and it is people. And I joked about this last week. So I was sitting in a parking lot at a grocery store, and I was watching people come out, and they were coming out like they had just finished 10 hours of surgery, right? Like taking their mask off, like they had been. Like, were you holding your breath in there the whole time, motherfucker? Like, why are you so surprised? Like, it's people will do the least they can possibly do to fit in with the rules that have to be in place at any given time, including things like tax, right? Like when they passed the whole thing, we had to smoke 10 feet away from a building. Yeah. I was working as a bouncer back then. The amount of people I had to stop from lighting their cigarette inside the little like between doors because they just didn't want to go outside to do it.
I did that.
I the law if they can 1,000% of the time.
I did your job one night where I literally had it was like cattle wrangling people into the little fucking square boxes where they were supposed to smoke at, and they keep like, and it was the same people all the fucking time. Like, I hate that shit. You're right.
Yeah. And that's, and people are that way about taxes too, especially about tax. That's money in their pocket. That's money they can keep. Even when they just like the idea of doing something for the greater good, including getting a vaccine for the greater good, because you may keep somebody else from getting it. You may help prevent that as well. You may prevent being an issue on the hospital system by not having to go if you don't get sick. Or like missing days of work or whatever the fuck it is. Like it's all playing a part. That's what the whole idea of like, otherwise you should go live on an island by yourself somewhere.
People don't see by not wanting very wealthy, well, not very rich. 400,000 isn't very rich, but you're well off if you make $400,000. If you live in LA, you're still doing okay.
You're in the top 1% of earners in the country.
Yeah. And
that's
probably
what over 400,000 is.
And I would guess in the world, if you're at the top 1%.
Oh, you're a much smaller percentage of the world at that point.
Yeah. That's so. To not understand, to make that much, and this is one thing I tell people all the time because when I worked in finance, rich people don't get money. Like people always say, oh, what rich people do, they understand money. They fucking do not. They hire people like me that went to college for this shit that understand money, and they let them do the shit. They don't know. They're fucking just as dumb as anybody else. As a matter of fact, most broke people understand money way better than rich people because they have to survive. That's the only way you can survive. You got to know how to fucking like rich people don't understand the fucking float. It's not on a check.
It's even more so than that. There's a point where you have so much of it that you have to get somebody else whose sole job is to know what to do with it, because you can't spend the time it takes to figure out what to do with all. Like unless you're trained in that and that's your whole job and you want to spend your whole life doing it, like you get people to handle your money for you to make sure that you can hold on to it. Because otherwise you will end up giving up a bunch of it in different ways. So when Bezos is the one who did his taxes to get himself to pay 0%. That's not.
Yeah. So when rich people are like coming up with all these theories about how the higher taxes are going to affect this, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about unless they have like a degree from Wharton or someplace like that, or just a degree in economics or finance or something like that. They are just people saying, I don't want you to raise my taxes. That's all it is. Nothing else. Just because they're rich, it doesn't mean shit. They are taking, and they're probably not even repeating the people who tell them that give them advice about wanting lower taxes. They get paid from that guy. Of course they want that guy to get lower taxes. They want more money too. Like they're probably in that tax bracket too.
Well, the other thing too is that there are a lot of those billionaires that are even like, I'd be fine if my taxes were raised. That's because they have no idea about the taxes. Sure, they say that, and then they hand all their shit over to somebody whose whole job is to make sure they pay the least amount possible.
Yeah.
They don't go to their tax guy and be like, you know what? Let a couple things off of there so I can just pay a little more. That's not a thing that ever happens. They never do that. They're too busy.
I sidetracked myself. What I wanted to say is that the point is people don't understand that whether you pay that money in a tax to the government to fix the roads, or if you allow the roads to just stay raggedy, you have to replace your car or your insurance goes up because other people have accidents or damage to their car in a specific area. And that algorithm is going to affect your rate at some point. You're going to pay that tax one way or the other. I would rather pay that tax to have faster trains and smoother roads and solar energy, electric car charging stations all over the place and solar energy credits so people can take advantage of solar power from Solar Masters. Now, I don't know the phone number. I was trying to go into the commercial. I forgot. But anyway.
Go solarmasters.com.
There you go. Boom. There you go. Go solarmasters.com. But anyway, my point is, I would rather spend the money there. And I understand some people don't fully get that, but I would rather spend the money there because I know all you have to do is look, if you see where things are going, we're going to get to that point at some point. We're going to get to the point where there's charging stations everywhere, and we have solar energy on more roofs. And the question is, do we want to pay for it now when interest rates are at 0 and it won't cost us anything really by adding it to the debt right now, or do we want to do it when interest rates are at 5%? And it's going to cost us a fuck ton, and the debt's going to go up at a substantially faster rate.
All the multi-billionaires think they're going to be dead by then, so they don't give a fuck. They're down to let you fuck up your car for as long as they can, because they're going to helicopter to wherever the fuck they're going from. You know what I mean? Like they're just, till the wheels fall off, nigga. That's how capitalism works. That's just until the wheels fall off modus operandi. You can't, it's a whole system built on year over year growth. That's an impossibility. The whole concept is not real. It doesn't mean anything. That's not a thing that can happen. So yeah, I mean, Biden laid out some amazing plans. Tim Scott's response to Biden. First of all, how does Tim Scott, who is one of only 3 Black people in all of Congress for the Republicans. They've got 262 people in Congress, the Republicans. 3 of them are Black. He's the only Black senator. He is the guy giving the rebuttal to the speech where Biden is talking about having to do some police reform and do some things to get some racial equity going on. How Tim Scott decides he gets to go up and do which white person from the Republicans came up to him and was like, we'd like you to do the rebuttal. And how is Tim Scott not like, this is a trick. They gotta know you. I don't this shit to your people.
Hey man. And then this motherfucker had the nerve. I don't think he said this in his speech. I think he said it in an interview afterwards, where he was just basically the summary of it was he said America is not a racist country.
He said that in his speech.
Oh, he did say that in his speech. Okay, so here's the point. Here's the thing I would like to say in rebuttal to that. Motherfucker, you got arrested trying to walk into the Senate. Seriously, he got arrested trying to walk into the Senate. So fuck Tim Scott. I don't give a fuck about anything he says.
He's the only Black Republican senator, man.
I know.
You say that? Wait, how can you say America? Okay, maybe not all of America, but the Republican parts are for sure.
He got arrested trying to walk into his place of work, which is the goddamn Senate. It's the capital of the fucking country. And if the fucking police there can't recognize him, and just even if they did recognize him, he's a fucking very well dressed black man trying to walk into the fucking Senate. Maybe ask yourself a question. Maybe go, hey, maybe this dude belongs here. Because I don't see a lot of these guys doing this.
You know why they don't ask themselves that question? Because they're racist. Because
racism.
And you know, like if he means like the ground when he's referring to the country isn't racist, then sure, I believe him in that. Like, sure, the ground of the earth is not necessary. I don't know. We buried a lot of white motherfuckers here at this point.
We buried a lot of Native Americans in this motherfucker. It might be a lot of us, a lot of our ancestors in this motherfucker. It might be racist. Yeah, I don't know. That's the theme of every Amityville horror movie.
By the way, when he said that America isn't racist, this was moments after he said that he knows the feeling of being followed in a store or being. It's just like you're describing the very thing you're claiming that this place is not, brother. Like, what are you talking about?
I feel like that was that Princess Bride moment. Like, I don't think you what that means. What you think it means? like, you keep using that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means. It's if it's not racist, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is? And he also made the point to say, "I've been called N-word by progressives." Hey, man, okay.
I mean, progressives for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I called a nigga a nigga. I called a nigga a nigga in the tweet about that. I was like, I just tweeted him, nigga. But here's the thing. Motherfucker, you are the party of the Confederate flag, and you talking about progressives calling you nigga? Get out of here. The fucking state capitol was flying a Confederate symbol until just like 2 years ago of your state. But America's not racist and progressives call you the N-word.
They had a Confederate flag in the Capitol. They had a Confederate flag in the Capitol a couple months ago.
Yeah.
They beat cops to death in that motherfucker. And this guy's like, this is not a racist place.
I don't even want to call. I feel like this is insulting to Uncle Tom. Like
Uncle Tom was a military compared to this motherfucker.
Yeah, Uncle Tom would slit this motherfucker's throat. You making me look bad, nigga.
The Republicans are doing a bunch of other shit, a bunch of redistricting. Well, they're going to get to do some redistricting based off of the census, which, you know, it's really interesting because Republicans will fuck up their own shit to ruin their chances, right? Like, there are a lot of illegal immigrants and there are a lot of citizens of Hispanic origin and, you know, non-white origin in Texas and in the South and a lot of different places. And they purposefully made the census an averse thing for people of color. One, with the citizenship question, but two, there are states, I think 17 states that spent no money to try and like promote the census anywhere because they knew that white people would do the census anyway. And they were willing to maybe not gain a certain seat just to keep that seat from being in a district that may belong to somebody who is not white.
Yeah.
So they're like, and this is the difficulty is like, they're trying to position it so it doesn't matter if more people are more towards the left than the right. They're trying to set the rules so that people can't vote. And
by the way,
districts are set up in a way in which like Republicans could win anywhere from 3 to 12 new seats in the House based off of redistricting without even winning races. It would just the shift in who gets what.
In theory, but even though they have to kind of go by the numbers, I'm pretty sure like states like Illinois, California, New York that lost seats, they're going to try to shape their districts in a fashion that the person that gets squeezed out is a Republican. Like, to the best of their ability.
In those places, for sure. But there's a lot of places that have some. I don't know.
Texas picked up 2 spaces, right? Or one.
Yeah, and so the thing is, and I'm not sure which states are which, but some states have a nonpartisan group that determines redistricting, and some of them are controlled by both Democrat and Republicans together. I think Pennsylvania works that way. And then
which is how it should be, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there should. I mean, I honestly, I'm not. I've seen some of the districts get drawn. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's definitely a tool that's being used along with voter suppression.
I think it was in Inland Empire, which is like east of LA. There was a district that they were trying to create a district of industry where it was just businesses, but there was like one lady whose house technically was in the district that they didn't know about when they did it. And so her vote basically decided everything for the district because she was technically the only voter in that district. And yeah, they did. It was like a Colbert thing or something. Like because they found this story and they like kept fucking every time an election came up, they'd go back and like see how she voted. And because they were trying to create a thing, because like the industry was it was like an industrial park area, and they were trying to like do a tax thing or some shit like that. And it was some shady business shit. And so she kept voting against it, voting against any type of thing that they tried to do in that area because she'd actually start reading the thing because she's the only vote.
That's crazy.
I'm sure they're going to rezone that shit now. But.
Right, yeah, no doubt. Along the way, though, it's getting tougher for some of the Republicans in the party. Matt Gaetz, a letter, I guess there's a letter that was sent by Joel Greenberg that is saying that they paid for sex with an underage woman who was 17 at the time, more than once. Gaetz is probably in some hot I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, even Armie Hammer stopped taking projects at this point. You know what I mean? Like, you know what's crazy is the amount of projects that Armie Hammer, all this, like, you realize how much shit this dude had versus so many other actors who could have been working by the number of things that he all of a sudden just like Armie Hammer drops out of 37 projects. It's like,
wow,
damn,
I didn't see that. It was 37.
No.
Oh, I thought it was actually, I was like,
it just seemed like there was an onslaught. Like it's, you know, usually you hear about somebody getting in some trouble and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, they dropped out of this one thing or these two things. There was like a slew of them. That's Matt Gaetz is sticking in strong. He ain't giving it up. Matt Gaetz is going to stay in there strong. It's good. The noose is getting tighter at some point. You know, nobody's meeting with the dude. Nobody's kicking it with him anymore. You know,
like
nobody's surprised.
I have a bit that I say Trump might be the greatest criminal of all time. And I still believe this because everybody's trying to copy him. Matt Gaetz is trying to do some Trump shit and just ride it out. And you can't. Trump was the only fucking could do it. Like this motherfucker, he. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. Like I give props when props is due. This motherfucker is 100 years from now, he's going to be the Al Capone. People are going to forget about Al Capone. It's going to be about the Trump crime lord.
It might be getting tighter for him though, because they caught Rudy Giuliani. They raided Rudy Giuliani's crib. Rudy Giuliani thinks they're going up to get all the stuff that's in the iCloud, which he thinks is up here, literally. He did an interview with Tucker Carlson where he goes, they went up in the iCloud and got it. Like, they got up there somehow. They sent a satellite or a spaceship. Maybe that's what SpaceX is for, is to go up there and get stuff out of the iCloud for investigations. They raided Rudy's spot, man. And I'm sure if they got some of his tech, there's got to be some messages on there.
I am certain Rudy.
Leak the Rudy materials.
Worldwide security CEO. I am certain that motherfucker didn't delete anything. I bet you everything is still in there. I bet you all the incriminating shit is still there. There's probably like deleted, like, you know, your draft folder. There's probably draft folders in there where he's like, you know, things we're doing are very criminal. I probably shouldn't leave this in an email. I'll start over. Like this, because like he's a fumbling, bumbling fool. He pocket dials reporters, man. And just he pocket dials reporters while he's in the middle of doing crime shit. So I have 100% confidence that whatever they were going to get is going to be there, and they probably go find some new shit.
I mean, the company that he was working with Lev Parnas and those cats was literally called Fraud Guarantee. Okay, that's not even like, that's like calling your shit crime building house. Come arrest us, please. That's the name of my company. Money Launderer. That's the name of our company. Ponzi Scheme Incorporated. That's what we're going to.
Drug dealers you should know.
Black Market Drugs here is the name of the corner store that we're opening. And some other weird craziness that's going on. There's been more news that's come out of the Andrew Brown Jr. Murder in North Carolina. They still haven't released the full video to the public. They let the family go in and see the video, in which everyone has agreed that Brown was shot in the back of the head. That was the final kill shot, which is definitely not a direction that you should be shot from if you're fighting the police. That's what it proves is he was definitely not head to head with the police when that happened, because he was shot in the back of the head in his car while driving away, which is one of the silliest ways to be shot. It's just like that. That's some TV shit. Now all of a sudden though, I'm thinking like, yeah, how many times have I seen it on TV where a car goes driving away and the cops are like out in the middle of the street shooting at the back window all the fucking time, man? Dude, are these guys just watching Magnum PI? Is that how they're training cops? They're like, here, watch this episode of fucking The Wire.
Dude, I have made a conscious choice, for the most part, with few exceptions, that I don't watch anything that's police related anymore, because I feel like we've all been brainwashed into that shit. Here's something I challenge everybody to do. Anybody's watching this podcast, I defy you to find a depiction of a police officer, be it a comedy, drama, whatever, where they're doing the job as a police officer and at some point they don't do some complete abuse shit. They don't fuck somebody up. They don't, even in the comedy shit, there's a thing where one way or another, they do something that is violating somebody's rights. And it's the norm. And also in those same portrayal of those police, internal affairs, the people who police the police are always the bad guys. You're not supposed to talk to internal affairs. You're a snitch if you talk to internal affairs. Internal affairs are the people who are supposed to be the good police. So, like, this is the shit that we get fucking fed all the time, and you might think it's overstated, but hey, man, motherfuckers are killing us, so, maybe there's something to it.
Well, one of the other big lies you see on all those shows is their actual success rate, like their closure rate.
Yeah, they're closing cases left and right, baby.
These guys are just fucking crushing, man.
They're catching motherfuckers.
And not killing everybody, you know what I mean? They're just easily just nabbing niggas and putting them in jail behind bars forever. They're just killing. And then
there's like 2 or 3 episodes a season.
It'll fix it.
There's like 2 or 3 episodes a season where they got to pop a motherfucker. But most of the time, it's bring them in.
Right. Unless it's one of those shows like Justified, where it's just like the whole show is based on the premise of a dude just drawing on people. He said guns, so I love
that show, man. I love that show. Like that's a show that I want to show my kid, but how do I feel good about showing my kid a show about a cop just busting people left and right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's a great show, but like, what the fuck am I like? Hey, here's a great show about a cop that shoots a bunch of motherfuckers. Like nobody outshoots him. It's great. Like, no.
One of the things that we talked about earlier is the fact that the jobs numbers have been better. There's been a lot of talk going on lately about there being a labor shortage in the fast food industry, which was quickly put on its head by the meme police. The meme police heard that there's a fast food shortage, or that there's a labor shortage, and immediately went to making memes laughing about the idea of jobs that offer $10 an hour for 40 hours a week, which is like $300 after taxes, maybe $280, and unemployment is like $270. So like, why would you even? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm gonna smell like French fries for that.
And one of the things a thing that happens in capitalism is that industries do this thing where whenever there's a potential threat of wages getting higher, like a public demand for $15 an hour, a lot of these companies will do things where they flood the market with job openings and then complain that there's a labor shortage on an industry level. And it's happened in a lot of different things. It's happened whenever people start to make too much money. It happened in teaching. It happened in nursing. There's a big whole nursing shortage that they were complaining about a while back. And the reason why is because nurses started really making money. It's right now why if you want to get into some type of like coding, or you want to start learning how to do any type of big coding thing, there's all these universities that will do, you pay no money until you get your job, and then we'll take a percentage of that, because starting salaries right now are $70,000, $80,000, $150,000, depending on what you learn how to do, right? What they're trying to do is the industry, the companies that own, the people that own businesses in these industries are trying to get so many people who are qualified to work there that they can drive the dollar that they pay out per hour down. Because if you only got 2 people applying for a gig, if only 2 people know how to build a website, then they will charge you thousands of dollars for that, right? But if you could get 800 niggas to build a website, all of a sudden it's like, well, what are you willing to build my website for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden that goes down. And so they put out these studies by trade groups, which are basically like from the industry complain that, oh, there's a labor shortage. Well, the reality is like, you just don't want to pay people. Yeah. Right. Like, and I saw a quote from a dude in Forbes a couple of years ago as a teacher. He goes, if I want to buy a Porsche for $1.98 and no one will sell it to me, I can't claim that there's an auto shortage, right? Like, you know, like if I want to get a fine dining experience, but I don't want to pay more than $1 for it, like I can't claim that there's a food shortage. Yeah. And like by the same token, like if I want someone to come work in conditions of a certain style, and I want to pay them like $10 an hour, and they don't want to do it, I can't claim that there's a human shortage. That's not. That's not real. Like at some point you have to give up some of the money you're making to pay people or create better conditions, right?
The thing that I just don't get, I understand the greed factor, and I don't know, I tie a bunch of stuff back to racism because a lot of shit does go back to racism, and there's probably a connection back to racism with this too, but I don't understand how even McDonald's, if you pay your employees more money, that's more money that's going to get spent at McDonald's. Like those, like people who work there are going to, you think the motherfuckers is going to upgrade and go to Burger King? Nah, they're going to eat there too. Walmart, the same shit. You pay people more at Walmart, they're going to shop at Walmart more. Walmart's still going to make more money on their bottom line. And if you raise the level, eventually $15 is going to be what $10 is now.
Well, so the thing that all these issues have in common is unions. The problem with paying somebody $15 an hour is then they've got money to buy into a union to help protect their other benefits and their other things that they need. And so, and Walmart is a great example because Walmart, if you didn't know about this, so when there's a teacher shortage years and years ago, it wasn't the fact that there was a teacher shortage. What happened is the teachers unions got powerful in the 80s and were demanding better money and more benefits for the things that they had. And all these people that didn't want to raise taxes, all these companies that want to raise taxes decided to start something called Teach for America. And what Teach for America did is it took all these Ivy League graduates and gave them teacher's degrees and then sent them into these locations that were understaffed, which was basically schools that couldn't afford to pay, couldn't get teachers in for the money they were making. And so Teach for America basically subsidized these teachers to go in there and do this and allow them to go in there. So basically scab workers essentially, right? And so the Waltons actually run Teach for America now because the Waltons,
you don't say,
because the Waltons who own Walmart will do things like not put a Walmart in a city to avoid having to pay union wages, right? Because most cities have union setups that you can't get around. That's why there's no big Walmart in Chicago, because Walmart's not going to pay the union in Chicago to do that. They don't like unions. And so if you create a market because you say there's a shortage and now there's a bunch of people out there, then you can fire people or get rid of people whenever the talk of union stuff starts happening. You can keep a turnover rate going, which a union can never take shape because there's nobody around long enough to keep it going. That's the whole better. That's why Amazon is hiring like crazy all the time, because they are firing people like crazy all the time. You know, that's the gimmick. And that's how they keep wages down, because they don't have to pay you more money, because they can replace you at any time. And because they can replace you at any time, you never have the opportunity to form a union.
I just realized something. You know, I've heard about crazy work conditions or metrics at Amazon for like the pick rate or whatever shit they got to do. And I wonder if they created those artificially solely to have a justification to fire motherfuckers periodically whenever they wanted to.
They've got there's somebody who does the numbers for them, who sits there and looks at there's a chart that breaks down a profit margin they're desiring to stay at to keep their stock price at a certain level that they want it at. And then there's a whole bunch of little things that go clicking at some point based on, okay, well, we got to keep the stock price here. Well, we got to make the pick rate X, and we got to make the time off Y, and we got to, you know what I mean? Like all those metrics get hit. And that's, I mean, the businesses run off of this automated style of system, essentially. I mean, somebody crunched those numbers to get there, but there's somebody sitting there working that out.
Hey, I gotta do a real quick shout out to this weed I'm smoking called Sweet Tart.
Sweet Tart love shout outs.
Yeah, because here's why. I keep wanting to break out into a musical because what you were just talking about is called an algorithm.
Right.
And I don't know, but there it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do that shit. But I feel like they're doing it to create also the churn for the job purposely to create something that like no one's going to be able to keep up with this fucking shit. And then that always gives them a reason. And that keeps, but they also are creating a stress factor because everybody, the other thing that I hear about working at an Amazon warehouse is that there's like, I feel like, remember the first mass shooters that I can think of were postal workers. It used to be an expression that I feel is like probably offensive now, going postal.
Yep.
And it was because of something similar of the type of pressure it was working in that facility to keep up with the pace that they had to do to do it. And if you think about it, what is Amazon but the post office for retail services? And so I'm not saying that there's going to be a bunch of Amazon shooters, but I think there has been at least one or two facilities that have been attacked. But I think, if I'm wrong, I apologize in advance. But I do see it's problematic what they're doing. I don't know what the fix for it is because the way that they have created, like with the algorithms and shit like that, no matter what kind of law you create, they're going to figure a way around it.
If you don't create a union that can work on a company-wide level, then you just don't really have an opportunity to, you know what I mean? Like it's an individual basis, and different states are going to have their own deal. You know what I mean? Like you're never going to be able to break that without a strong union. That is, and as long as you don't have a strong union, you will always have this like separation, this wide gap between, you know, the upper class and the lower class and a shrinking middle class, because there is no entity to actually fight to keep that middle to lower class competitive. It's just not a possibility that way. The people who are in the upper class, the people who are running those giant Fortune 100 companies, they are never going to be benevolent out of sheer benevolence. That's just not. Capitalism just doesn't work that way. We just spent the whole episode, essentially talking about like how even if they may feel they'd like to be that way, they'll try and, they'll use philanthropy, which essentially is just to burnish their reputation more so than do anything. A lot of those nonprofits only have to give away a tiny percentage of the money that they bring in. You know what I mean? Like a lot of those funds and shit like that, they only have to give out a tiny percentage of that. The rest of it goes to salaries and shit to keep the thing going.
I find it really weird. Our society as a whole, I feel like it's a really weird thing that people will rage against taxes, but the same people have foundations and private entities that will subsidize the things that taxes would have done. So you can, like, you don't want to pay taxes because you don't want to pay for government-sponsored abortions or something like that, or the arts, but you will fund this thing to feed the homeless or some shit like that. Well, like, I get it. You want your money to go specifically to some certain thing. And to me, if you're living in a society, that's a fucking stupid way to think.
Well, like, they want credit, though. If you just paid the money through your taxes, who would know?
Okay, I think we just fixed the problem, Bobby.
Who would know?
We got to flip the IRS. We have to go in with like a P. Diddy marketing style for the IRS. Make that shit blingy and cool. Nigga, I paid $2 million in taxes this quarter. What?
My taxes went to fund a whole eighth of the new infrastructure plan.
I'm American as fuck, baby. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's more American. How is that not the most American thing?
Well, there's also a level of control, right? There's a level of control in being able to pull your money at some point if you get upset about a thing or change directions on something, or you know what I mean? Like you can do all types of shit when it's a thing you decide to get into. But speaking of getting into some shit, Joe Rogan has been in some shit again lately. He is one of the most downloaded podcasts in the world, I think. He's a comic who's done a lot of specials. You can feel whichever way you think about them.
I like Joe Rogan's stand-up. I don't watch his podcast because I don't like how he kind of takes this neutral tone. However,
it's not a neutral tone.
I have seen he had Ben Shapiro on, and he pinned Ben Shapiro down on trying to admit that racism was a problem and a factor in all these social ills. Because like he just kept trying to say it just comes back down to personal responsibility. Like you just have to decide. And Joe Rogan's like, you're asking somebody to decide where there's no images and like he's talking about people in really, really fucked up situations. It's like there's no images around them of people succeeding, but you just want them just to decide to succeed, and you think that that's just something someone can do. Like, and you don't see how not having a single example of anybody ever doing it because of all the oppressive shit that has been done to the community would affect people in being able to make that choice. And Ben Shapiro, like you could see it was weird. Like he kept the humanity in him kept going. Well, yeah, that obviously that of course not. Yeah. And then there was like a reset where he was like, however, yeah. And then back to the personal responsibility because like that's what he has to stand on. He can't fold on it. But I did like the fact that Rogan. That's the one. Like sometimes he lets people say stuff and doesn't fucking push back.
That's a problem I have. Is like what you brought up was what seems to be more of the rare event, the phenomenon than the rule. You know what I mean? That's more the exception than the rule. And that's always been my problem with Rogan since I started listening to him. And I've listened to a ton. I mean, I've listened to, a lot more than I probably should have. 1,000 plus. I don't know. There's a time where I hadn't missed one for like 800 episodes or something where I was I listen to I used to be on public transportation in Chicago all the time. So it's like throughout a day or a day and a half, I could knock out a 2.5, 3 hour podcast. No problem. Going from mics and work and shit like that. Like I'll roll through a Rogan podcast in a day. I didn't know anything else that was going on the planet, but I could certainly hear that whole thing. But like my issue is not that I necessarily just hate what he says. It's just that he advertises himself as being a moron, but the difficulty is that he's a moron with, 20, 30 million downloads an episode. And at that point, you do have some level of responsibility to be able to handle the people that come on your show. And realizing when you're giving a platform to somebody who is pushing a lot of bullshit or misinformation or not doing enough to remind people that this person may not be the right person for them to take advice from. And he misses on that a lot. And recently he came out and said that if a 21-year-old asked him if he should take the vaccine, his advice would be not to. Yeah. And, it's one of those things where like, it's weird because we are doing a podcast right now. We say crazy shit. And it would be silly if someone took something that we said that was meant offhand as being like what we were actually preaching, right? Like, duh, that's a silly thing. There is an element to this where we're just kind of like, here's what's on my head at the moment. I don't know if that's necessarily even right, but that's the thought I just had. And we do a live show, you know what I mean? And he does too. So there's an element to that, but there's this weird conundrum where it's just like, everybody looks at him like he's this great, like giver of advice until he says something that gets into some shit, and then all of a sudden he's just a moron. And it's like, well, at some point we got to decide on which it is, right? Is he this guru of knowledge who just like seems to be smarter than you are, which is weird because I don't think that's necessarily the case for a lot of people. Maybe it is, but or is he got a guy who's just a moron who says crazy shit all the time? Because the difference is whether you're taking someone seriously or not when they say shit, right? Like, I can look at you all the time like you're a clown. That's not a problem. But, also, if you're 21, you should still go get the fucking vaccine because don't put a burden on everybody else if you get sick. Like,
I would say this. If somebody who's 21 asked me if they should get the vaccine, I would say, you shouldn't be asking me if you should get the vaccine. You should be asking a doctor.
Right.
Why the fuck are you asking me, nigga? I tell jokes. Let's talk about your personal choices that you asking comedians advice on medical shit. Like, that's a problem. We should talk about that.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong person about this right now. You got the
However, from what I hear from doctors, the answer is yes. But again, go check with them first. Whoever you're fake. Because here's a problem with people when they say shit like that. People say a healthy 21-year-old. Nigga, what's a healthy 21-year-old? Our medical system is such that who the fuck knows that they're healthy? Like, you don't find out you're sick until you're fucking sick because our medical system isn't set up in a way that promotes health. It's a set up in a way of like just keeping your ass sick, not sick enough to still work.
Right. Right. Yeah. Just well enough that you can get to the job.
Well, yeah,
right?
well enough to work. That's the American healthcare system. It's not preventative. It's not wellness, really. I mean, they say that those are catchphrases that are said, but the system is not set up to promote that for most people.
No.
You can't take off work to go enough. You don't get enough visits. That's a whole nother show too.
Yeah.
But so when people say a healthy person, who the fuck knows what a healthy person is? You know what I'm saying? How do you know you don't need this shit because you are right around the corner from some shit that might be hitting you and hurting you and you wish you had it already?
Yeah. But Joe's in Austin now, so he can again, you know who's not moving to Austin? You know who's not moving to Nashville?
Who's that?
Niggas ain't moving. All the comics I see moving to Austin and to Nashville, and this comic got a place there, and that comic got a place in the other spot, and like ain't none of them black. Ain't no black people moving to Austin. That is gonna be
I love Nashville. I love Nashville. But
you're moving there to do comedy, I bet.
Zany's Comedy Bar. I would love to.
I'll go down there and do a show.
I'll do some shows down there.
I'm not moving down there though. No. Did you watch the Oscars at all?
I did. I watched most of it. I missed the last hour because I was driving home. But yeah, I saw it. They kept saying it was going to feel more like a movie. It did not feel like a movie. It just felt like an award show that was filmed in a different place than they normally film award shows. But
there's a weird thing. One, they've been making complaints about how the Oscars are not better for the last 20 years. Every year it's like, well, the Oscars just aren't as good as they used to be. I think it's because you were a kid. You watched when you were a kid and you had this mystique, and now you're older and the shine of celebrity, I think, has come off a little bit. There's been a lot more pushback against celebrities for virtue signaling, which is not new at the Oscars, by the way. They've been
that's for all as long as I can remember.
But also, it is one of the things that I think is really weird is people who are in a performing art like comedy who shit on the Oscars, who also spend half their timeline talking about shows and movies they watch and why they're good and why they're not good. And like the Lucas brothers were up for a fucking Oscar. Those are guys that I have watched at a show that I've also done. You know what I mean? Like the Lucas brothers and I have not been on the same show, but I've been on the same show that they've been on. Right? Like, they've done CYSKLA. So have I. So like not the same time, but it doesn't matter. Right? Like it's the same show. Right? So like,
that's just so cool.
But that's what kills me though, is like I
feel like they're aliens.
And here's the thing, I get it. I know the Oscars is some old white people run shit, and like they're not giving black people as much due as they should, and that's a process that's being worked on. I totally get that. They're making the best attempt old white people that have been running shit for 100 years can do. Okay, they're making Joe Biden type strides towards equality at the Oscars. But like the thing is like I don't understand like if half these peak comics who talk shit about the Oscars, if they had a chance to be in a movie in which they were going to get an Oscar nomination, they would be right the fuck in line. Okay. I don't want to hear it. If they had a chance for fucking Brad Pitt to hand them the Oscar for best supporting actor in a movie, that you can't tell me that at some point when you thought about being getting into performing, that at some point you didn't have some daydream about being rewarded for it somehow besides just a paycheck.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's crazy.
100%. It's weird. And going back to you to talk about the Lucas brothers, Lorel was in that movie when they interviewed. Just to tie back to the comics talking about shit. Little Rel was in that movie when he interviewed them. He said congratulations on the nomination, and they were like, congratulations to you. Yeah, you're in the movie too. And he was like, oh, yeah. Like you said, but that's kind of great. But, that's 3 fucking comics. Anyway, my point, I agree with everything you're saying. Again, this is just a win. I don't have a counter.
I mean, these guys all love, like, how many white guys did I see complain about the Oscars who also love Adam Sandler, who they thought should have gotten an Oscar nomination for the movie using
what was the last one?
Gems, Hidden Gems or whatever.
Uncut Gems, yeah. I thought that movie was great.
But here's the thing, though. Like, you hate the Oscars, but you think this guy should have gotten reward. Like, what are you talking about? Just just say that it's a tough thing. I get it. It's a tough thing to be all about because there's a lot of problems with it. And everybody wants to think that everybody in Hollywood is a pedophile, but you want to work in Hollywood. Otherwise, go be an accountant. Stop doing comedy and go fucking get into something where the ultimate reward isn't like
go teach third grade public school.
Now to get into something that is also frustrating about performing, Elon Musk is scheduled to host Saturday Night Live. Which seems
why,
as a performer, it seems a little unfair.
Yeah, why?
Not that I should get to host Saturday Night Live right now, but I could think of other people who actually do perform that I'd rather see host Saturday Night Live.
So here's the thing: I am happy for my friend Chris Red, who's going to get to meet a billionaire. I mean, I'm sure he's probably met other billionaires. He's on Saturday Night Live. Yeah. However, Lauren, you can't have too many billionaires in your phone. You just can't. It's got a good thing.
If Chris Red is one of the only blacks that gets to go to Mars, I'm down.
Yeah. So I'm not happy about that, but there's no part of me that wants to see Elon Musk succeed at Saturday Night Live. You don't get to be rich and go to Mars, and you get to be funny too. Fuck you. No, I'm not accepting it.
Can you imagine if Chris Red do the actual show on the trip to Mars? Like that's how it go. Sure, you can go to Mars. We just need you to perform. That's how you pay your passes.
Yeah. He's the first cruise liner. He's the first cruise comic to Mars. Comic cruise liner to Mars.
Something that's very funny. Jerry Falwell is still wilding out. If you don't know Jerry Falwell, his dad, Jerry Falwell Sr., was the guy who started Liberty University. Then Jerry Falwell Jr. got in trouble because it came out that he'd had some side relationships going on, that he and his wife both had a guy. He and his wife had a guy living there who was taking care of the wife, and which normally would be fine in any general society, but Liberty is a very, very stern Christian college, and it's a very stern Christian community. So obviously that was a no-go.
Hey, yeah, Bobby, I just want to check something real quick. Fine in any society? No. Should be fine in any society? Yes, I 100% agree with you.
Not fine in society, but should be fine.
Okay, go.
Yeah, Liberty is an evangelical university, which is definitely not about hoeing around. They are definitely, they be doing it, but they don't want you.
They be doing it. They do butt stuff. That's how the girls keep it. It's facts. Look it up. They do butt stuff. That's how they keep their virginity.
Falwell showed up at Jerry Falwell showed up at a Liberty University party and invited a bunch of seniors to a party at his house.
Wow.
Which I think is just he's like, listen, if I'm coming out, I'm coming all the way out. Let's get these horny guys and these horny gals.
What if Liberty just switches up and they become polyamory university?
He is currently being sued by the university for $10 million.
$10 million. Yeah, $10 million.
And he's showing up trying to throw parties, man. He's like, fuck it, let's jam, dog. He's Will Ferrell in Old School at this point.
I can't remember the name of the show because I don't think it got a second season. But there's a show where the dude from that's the dude. He has a mullet and he always plays those outrageous characters.
Chris Elliott.
Fuck it doesn't matter. There's a show about a gospel. Damn it! I'm sorry.
With this is
there was a show on HBO about a gospel family. The dad was like a legendary televangelist, and he had 3 sons.
Oh, Danny McBride.
Yes, Danny McBride. That show. That's exactly what this Jerry Falwell shit is. It feels like Danny McBride was ahead. Danny McBride is basically
The Righteous Gemstones is the name of the show you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this shit is art predicting history or something like that. This nigga a prophet? Because this is what it looks like. This is like this. We're gonna see a robbery attempt when they try to kidnap a motherfucker or some shit to raise.
It's
some
wild,
funds
man.
something.
Well, I think Jerry Falwell Sr. is gone, so this guy is he was the last. Now Dad's gone, he's letting a while out. So this last thing I just want to bring up is I don't watch football anymore, but the news still does cross my desk, and we are Chicagoans, so I think it would be ill of us not to note that the Bears drafted a black quarterback yesterday.
Dude.
which is for me. I'm just like, oh, cool. Now we're gonna try and get one of our own CTE. That's great,
dude. I know. I'm on the same shit as you.
Right.
But here's the thing. I have a thread with a bunch of Chicago guys, a couple of dudes that have season tickets, or used to have season tickets to the Bears. I don't know if they will after COVID or whatever. But anyway, and they constantly talk. We constantly talk about sports. And we had a thing like, any chance the Bears take Justin Fields? And I was like, even if somehow he dropped to 20 or he was in a range where they could swap picks to get him, they wouldn't do it because they're pussies. And there's no chance they'd do it. And I was way wrong. They moved up. They got him. I am shocked.
Yeah. So it'll give white people in Chicago a whole new thing to be into for a minute until they turn on them, which would be great.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I have no idea how good Chicago Bears offensive line is. This dude can run.
I don't know.
So I hope he does. Like, I'm worried about the CTE thing too. I'm like, yeah, hopefully this dude doesn't get hit a lot.
Let's not break this guy. You know what I mean? You doing anything this week? You out anywhere?
I am not. I have a show coming up. The Comedy Shrine in Aurora is opening back up, and May 20th. May 20th is going to be the first show we're having. It's called Jazz and Jokes. It's Thursday night. You come on out. Here's some very cool jazz music. And
this is your show.
This is my show. This is the XL comedy show at the Comedy Shrine. It's the Comedy Shrine sponsor show featuring me and some very talented musicians and some of my favorite comics. I'm going to have a couple different comics come out every night. Every time we have it, it's a once a month show. The first one's May 20th. Second one's June 3rd. It's going to be the first Thursday of every month after that.
Nice.
So that's what I got coming up right away. There's a couple other shows. I have more details next week because they're not coming up until after that.
Where can people find out information on that?
At XL Comedy on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all over the internet. That's where I be. Even on the sticks, if you want to get your ass kicked at MLB The Show. MLB The Show. I got a heater and I play second base. I have a fastball and I play second base. I'm nice. Come fuck with me.
All right. I'm actually doing. I'm going to do Paul Farvar's podcast next week. It won't be out for a little bit, but I'll get to do that. And then we have some new show stuff in the works for some live shows that we're working on as well. We'll keep you posted on that. You can follow me at Mocha_Jesus on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you follow the pod at New OGs Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Get over to People of Comedy at People of Comedy and People of Comedy Network on Twitter and Instagram. Follow those shows. If you want to hear a bunch of white boys talk, go to at North Bar tonight.
You don't.
We'll catch it next week. We're out of here. That's
very
it.
Funny comics. A bunch of very funny comics that all happen to be white.
We out.
We did it, fuck a critic on my pivot. I've been ballin'. Engine louder than T-Pain. When I started. Fuck your bitch, now she get attachment. She get calling. High school, you was that nigga. Now you falling. I'm a zigzag through the gang, like go smoking on trees.